Part 1. The Trap. Michael Bennett stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror of his downtown corner office. At 42, he had everything he thought he wanted: executive title, seven-figure salary, vacation home in Aspen, and a luxury car collection. Yet the face staring back showed hollow eyes that hadn't truly smiled in years. His phone vibrated, another meeting alert. Third one today about the quarterly report. His stomach tightened as he popped another antacid and straightened his tie. Just need to make it through this quarter, he whispered to himself, the same mantra he'd been repeating for 15 years. The truth was, Michael couldn't remember the last time he felt genuinely happy. His relationships were superficial, his marriage was struggling, and his teenage kids were practically strangers. But this was the price of success, wasn't it? Sacrifice now, happiness later. That's what his father taught him, what business school reinforced, what every mentor had modeled. His assistant knocked. "They're waiting in the conference room, sir." Michael nodded, put on his game face, and walked out. Another day of performing a role he no longer recognized. Part 2. The Breakdown. 3 months later, Michael sat alone in his parked car outside his office building at 2 a.m. The quarterly numbers had been excellent, his best yet, but the celebration dinner had left him feeling emptier than ever. His phone lit up with a text from his wife. "Don't bother coming home tonight." Something inside Michael finally broke. All the metrics he'd used to measure success, money, power, status, suddenly seemed hollow. What had he actually been working for all these years? And why did achieving more only make him feel worse? He started the car but didn't drive home. Instead, he headed toward the airport. Moral number 1. Success without happiness isn't success at all. It's just a well-decorated prison cell. The metrics we use to measure achievement often have nothing to do with what truly fulfills us. Part 3. The Journey. Michael's sabbatical wasn't planned. He simply bought a one-way ticket to Thailand, called his assistant to cancel his meetings indefinitely, and disappeared. The first week was terrifying, without his title, without meetings to attend, without problems to solve. Who was he? He felt naked without his armor of busyness and importance. In Chiang Mai, he met Ajahn, a former investment banker who now ran a small meditation center. "You've been living in your mind, not in your life," Ajahn told him during their first conversation. "Your mind created a contract. I will allow myself to be happy when I achieve X." But then X became Y, and Y became Z. Michael spent the next month at Ajahn's center, learning to sit with his thoughts rather than be controlled by them. The discomfort was excruciating at first. His mind constantly pulled toward work problems, toward checking his email, toward planning his return. "Notice how your mind creates these desires," Ajahn instructed, "and then makes you unhappy until you fulfill them. But as soon as one desire is fulfilled, another replaces it. This is the cycle that traps most people for their entire lives." Moral number 2. We think about ourselves too much. Most unhappiness comes from this self-referential thinking. What should have happened, what might happen, how others see us. True peace comes from breaking this cycle of constant self-evaluation. Part 4. The Insight. After 2 months abroad, Michael found himself on a small island in southern Thailand. He spent his days swimming, reading philosophy, and having conversations with travelers from around the world, people with vastly different definitions of success than the one he'd imprisoned himself with. One evening, while watching the sunset with Elena, a Spanish doctor who'd been traveling for a year after burning out at her hospital, Michael had a realization. "I've been sacrificing the thing I want for the thing that's supposed to get it for me," he said. "What do you mean?" Elena asked. "I've been sacrificing happiness in order to be successful so that when I'm finally successful enough, I can be happy. But if I remove success from both sides of that equation, you could just be happy now?" Elena finished his thought. Michael nodded, the simplicity of it stunning him. Why did I never question this before? Why did I believe I had to earn the right to enjoy my life? Moral number 3. Happiness isn't something you earn after achieving success. It's the energy that fuels genuine success. When you're happy, you naturally move toward work that aligns with your authentic self. 5. The Experiment. When Michael returned home 3 months after his abrupt departure, his family was cautiously receptive. His company was less understanding. They'd given his position to someone else, offering him a different role with less responsibility. Strangely, he felt relieved. "I'm going to try something different," he told his wife over dinner. "I want to redesign my life around what actually makes me feel alive, not what looks impressive to others." He declined the company's offer and instead took 6 months to explore what genuinely interested him. He discovered a passion for teaching business strategy to small entrepreneurs, something that combined his expertise with direct human connection that had been missing from his corporate role. His income dropped by 70%, his status in his professional circle diminished, and his former colleagues thought he was having a midlife crisis. But something unexpected happened. He started waking up energized. His creativity flourished. His family noticed he was actually present when home, not just physically there but mentally elsewhere. "You seem like a completely different person," his teenage daughter remarked one evening. "Actually, I feel like myself for the first time in decades," he replied. Moral number 4. What feels like play to you but looks like work to others is your unique advantage. When you align your work with what naturally energizes you, you outcompete everyone who's forcing themselves through disciplines they hate. Part 6. The Integration. 2 years later, Michael's consulting practice for small businesses had expanded beyond what he could handle alone. He'd hired 3 other former executives who, like him, wanted meaningful work without the soul-crushing pace of corporate life. His marriage had transformed as well. With both Michael and his wife focusing on what brought them joy rather than what they thought they should want, they rediscovered each other as partners rather than co-managers of a household. One morning, while having coffee on his porch, a daily ritual he now protected fiercely, Michael reflected on what had changed. He wasn't wealthier than before. His car was less expensive, his home smaller. By his old metrics, he'd regressed. Yet he felt rich in ways he'd never imagined possible. He had autonomy over his time. His relationships were deep and genuine. His work felt meaningful. He slept soundly. He laughed easily. His phone buzzed, a text from his former company's CEO asking if they could meet. They wanted him back. The compensation package would be substantial. Michael smiled as he composed his reply. "Thank you for thinking of me. I'm honored, but I've discovered something more valuable than what you're offering." He put down his phone and returned to watching the sunrise, feeling the gentle weight of his newfound freedom. Moral number 5. Freedom, not money, status, or power, is the ultimate currency of life. Freedom of time, freedom of attention, freedom from others' expectations. Part 7. The Wisdom. As Michael's new venture grew, he found himself mentoring younger entrepreneurs. During one session, a stressed founder asked him, "How did you learn to let go of the constant anxiety about success?" Michael thought carefully before answering. "I realized 3 fundamental truths," he said. "First, understanding is more important than discipline. When you truly see a truth, you can't unsee it. And that changes behavior immediately, without struggle. Second, I was captured by status games. I was constantly comparing myself to others, seeking approval from people I didn't even respect. Status games are zero-sum. For someone to win, someone else must lose. But wealth creation, making things people genuinely value, is positive-sum. Everyone can win. And third, I discovered that most of our suffering comes from our identity, the stories we tell about who we are and what we deserve. The less you think about yourself, the happier you become." The young entrepreneur looked confused. "But isn't building a business all about self-improvement? About becoming better?" Michael smiled. "That's the ultimate paradox. The best self-improvement is to forget about improving yourself. Instead, focus on solving real problems for others. Your growth will happen naturally as a byproduct." Moral number 6. Don't get trapped in status games. There's zero-sum competitions that never satisfy. Focus instead on creating value, which is positive-sum and leaves everyone better off. Part 8. The Decisions. On his 45th birthday, Michael took his family on a hiking trip. While watching the sunset from a mountain ridge, his son asked him, "Dad, what's the biggest mistake you made in your career?" Michael didn't hesitate. "Staying too long in situations that weren't right for me. I would notice something wasn't aligned with what I truly wanted, but I'd think, just one more year, and then I'll make a change." Those years added up. "How do you know when to stay or leave now?" his daughter asked. "I use a simple rule. If I can't decide between two options, the answer is no. And if I have to choose between short-term pain or long-term pain, I always choose short-term pain. Later that night, his wife asked what he meant. Our brains magnify immediate discomfort and discount future suffering, Michael explained. That's why we avoid difficult conversations, stay in bad relationships, or keep jobs we hate. The momentary discomfort of change feels worse than the chronic pain of the status quo, but that's an illusion. Moral number 7. If you're faced with a difficult choice and cannot decide, the answer is no. And when choosing between short-term pain and long-term pain, choose short-term pain every time. Part 9. The attention. 5 years after leaving his executive role, Michael was invited to speak at his former company's leadership retreat. The topic: sustainable success in a demanding world. Before his talk, the new CEO, his former colleague, showed him around the headquarters. We've implemented all these wellness programs, the CEO explained, pointing to a meditation room and a gym. But people are still burning out. What are we missing? During his presentation, Michael addressed this directly. You've done something admirable by creating spaces for wellness, but the fundamental problem isn't solved by adding meditation rooms. It's about how we relate to time and attention. The most valuable resource isn't time, it's attention. You can have all the time in the world, but if your attention is fragmented, if your mind is elsewhere, that time is wasted. Most of us live in a perpetual state of absence from our own lives. We're physically in meetings, but mentally rehearsing future conversations. We're with our families, but our minds are solving work problems. We're on vacation, but checking email. The result is we're never fully anywhere, and a life half-lived in many places adds up to a life not fully lived anywhere. The audience was silent as his words landed. Moral number 8. Your most precious resource isn't money or even time. It's attention. How and where you place your attention determines the quality of your life. Part 10. The legacy. 10 years after his abrupt departure from corporate life, Michael found himself sitting across from his now adult son, who was facing his own career crossroads. I've been offered this amazing job, his son explained. Great title, incredible salary, but something doesn't feel right about it. What does your gut tell you? Michael asked. That I'd be doing it for the wrong reasons? For the status? For how it looks on paper? But the actual day-to-day work doesn't excite me. Michael nodded. You know, the most expensive trait in life is pride. It's what keeps us in situations we've outgrown, doing things for appearances rather than authenticity. They sat in silence for a moment before Michael continued. When I was your age, I thought success meant impressing others. Now I understand that true success is being deeply engaged with your life, having the courage to walk away from what doesn't serve you and toward what makes you come alive. Most people get this backwards. They sacrifice happiness for success, hoping that eventually, success will bring happiness. But it never works that way. The happier you are, the more you'll naturally gravitate toward what you're meant to do, and success, true success, not just the appearance of it, will follow. His son looked relieved. So you think I should decline the offer? I think you already know the answer, Michael replied. I'm just here to remind you to trust yourself. Moral number 9. The reason to win the game is to be free of it. Don't get trapped playing games that, even if you win, don't give you what you truly desire. Epilogue. The Circle. On his 60th birthday, Michael sat on his porch with a cup of coffee, watching the sunrise. The same ritual he'd maintained for nearly 2 decades. His consulting business had evolved into something he never expected, a school for entrepreneurship that emphasized holistic success rather than just financial outcomes. Thousands of students had passed through its doors, many going on to build businesses that reflected their authentic values rather than chasing external validation. His phone rarely rang these days. He'd engineered his life to protect his attention, focusing only on what truly mattered to him. As the sun crested the horizon, he reflected on his journey, the breakdown that led to breakthrough, the courage it took to redesign his life, the freedom he'd found in letting go of others' expectations. Most remarkably, his definition of success had completely transformed. It was no longer about accumulation or achievement. Success now meant presence, being fully awake to his life as it unfolded moment by moment. His assistant, who now worked just 3 days a week, had asked him yesterday what wisdom he most wanted to impart to the next generation of students. After a lifetime of seeking answers, his response was simple. Don't optimize for happiness or success. Optimize for freedom. Freedom of time. Freedom of attention. Freedom to be yourself without apology. Everything worthwhile flows from that. As the golden light spilled across his yard, Michael closed his eyes in gratitude. The journey had been long, but the destination, this moment, right here, was always available. It had just taken him half a lifetime to arrive. Final moral. Most people spend their lives chasing external markers of success, only to discover that what they truly wanted, peace, meaning, connection, was available all along. The wisest among us realize this sooner rather than later.